Welcome to the Acupuncture Marketing School podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Grassick, and I'm here to help you get visible in your community, take marketing action with confidence, and get more patients in your practice and more money in your pocket every week. We both know you're a talented, passionate acupuncturist and that acupuncture has the power to change lives. So let's dive right into this episode and talk about how you can reach more patients. Welcome back. Today I'm joined by Courtney and Kelly, the powerhouse sisters behind Screws and Stilettos, a marketing consulting firm that helps businesses refine what's working, cut out what's not, and streamline their marketing for better results. And beyond strategy, they're also experts in flow states, teaching their clients how to tap into peak focus to work more efficiently, avoid burnout, and make time for what matters. In other words, if you want to get your marketing done faster, it's all about entering a flow state purposefully and making it a weekly habit. In this episode, we dive into why simplifying your digital marketing to one platform can be a game changer, what's working best in email marketing right now, image-heavy versus text-based emails, for example, why you're leaving money on the table if you're not doing email marketing, the science of flow states and how they impact productivity, how to get into a flow state and get more done in less time, why productivity can increase by up to 500% in a flow state, and more. I hope you really enjoy this conversation with Kelly and Courtney. Today's episode is sponsored by a free PDA class I'm teaching in April with Clara Cohen of AcuPro Academy. This live training will be packed with simple, effective website and social media strategies to help you attract more patients. Plus, we're doing something extra special, a live website and social media review for a few lucky attendees. Clara has a combined 700,000 social media followers and has been creating content online for over a decade. So she brings some incredible insights to the table. I think this class is going to be action-packed and really fun. This class, again, is worth one NCC AOM PDA credit, and it is completely free. Grab your spot now. The link is in the show notes. All right, let's get into this episode with Kelly and Courtney. Hi, Kelly and Courtney. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
So you run a marketing consulting business called Screws and Stilettos. And before we dive in, let me give you the opportunity to introduce yourselves.
Sure. I'm Courtney. I have a digital agency background. I've been doing marketing since my college days. And I also focus a lot on the neuroscience of peak performance and flow. So really what I provide and where I focus is outside of the neuroscience of flow, it's on SEO, paid ads, analytics, and then Kelly and I actually are an incredible tag team. So we overlap in a lot of areas like email marketing stuff, but I'll go ahead and let Kelly introduce herself.
So I'm Kelly. I'm Courtney's better half. I'm her older sister. We are very much yin and yang, and it's perfect because there's certain things that I know Courtney's amazing at. Like I've never met anybody in the universe that can do a better job in efficient SEO and in improving and killing it in paid ads. And trust me, I'm like, I don't even try to hold a candle to her. Anything I run by her. I, on the other hand, do a lot more strategic optimizations, design development for websites, for automations, for tools. And my cornerstone is just, people think, just this morning, a client emailed and said, the company told them it was impossible to do this. I went to you and immediately you did it. Wrote back and said, nothing's impossible when it comes to tools. It's not a human's life, it's the tool. You just need to be willing to figure out how to do it. And the biggest thing we find is that people think that it's easier to have so many different things. And so I come in and say, let's rip it all off and start with one or two things. It's all you need. And I really try to streamline, audit their systems, life, and then get them on the path to using the one or two tools to successfully do the job for you with you supervising it and not becoming a marketing company. It's not your job. Your job is your expertise. Marketing is supposed to help you on that path. And I really try to get it so marketing is no longer you're bleeding out. It's actually an asset that's not costing you a lot of money and it's doing a lot of work for you. And it actually is bringing in a lot of the leads and nurturing it was supposed to be doing from the beginning before the shiny object syndrome of the internet took us all over.
I am sure all the acupuncturists listening are so happy to hear someone championing the idea of paring down instead of saying, oh, you don't have enough patience? Let's add something else. And of course, even I get shiny object syndrome. Ooh, what is this new app? Can we integrate AI into all the apps that we've already been using? Which is great, but at the same time, it feels like you're learning a new thing all over again from scratch.
My washer machine, true story. I went to my washer machine a few years old, broke last year. And this is in the beginning of the AI overwhelm. And I went to get a new one. And I go on Samsung, and it's all everywhere saying, the new bespoke AI washer machine. I was like, this is a joke. I said to Courtney, I was like, it's everywhere. Literally, what is a bespoke AI washer machine? I want it to be reliable. What do they have now? A few weeks ago, I got an email. They have a whole line of appliances that are bespoke AI. It's not, it's an asset. It's just supposed to be something to supplement and help and make these things easier for you. Not you are your power, not a robot.
And so part of what you do is you would kind of comb through someone's marketing and take a look at what you think is working and what isn't, bring them back to basics, and then help them, almost sounds like, rebuild from there.
Absolutely.
Is that right?
Yeah. So a lot of what we do, and it goes back to also the flow component too, is whether it's from a productivity perspective or from a business and a marketing perspective, our ultimate goal is for you to be able to grow and scale efficiently and effectively. And in order to do that, simplification is necessary. I mean, the reason so many businesses and small businesses fail is they overcomplicate things. So our goal is let's streamline the data so everything is talking. Let's bring it back to simplicity. Let's bring it back to the basics of what you need. You don't need 5 different funnels for attracting leads. You need one. And using that and driving traffic to that funnel from multiple areas, yes, but only one funnel. And then using that to grow and scale. Because the more you complicate things, the more you add additional funnels, the more you add additional tools, the less leverage and ability to pivot you're going to have.
The hard thing is also the temptation. There's a whole expertise fear where someone says, I'm an expert in email, you need me for your email marketing. And now you're spending this person. Then someone says, I'm an SEO expert, you need me for your SEO. And now you're there. And you're listening to all these people who, quote unquote, experts and think you need an entire army of experts when you don't. You probably don't need any of them. And our goal is that anybody, whether it's an agency managing a website, to an SEO expert, to a social media expert, no matter what, our goal is every client fires us at the end. They have no experts left. They're on their own. We've set them up. They're ready for success. And they call us up when they need help with something new. But the system is doing its job. They are monitoring it, optimizing it. And otherwise, they're doing their job, and they're not paying third parties who really, as Courtney can tell you from the agency world, are putting in about 15% of the effort that they're actually paying for. And so we really try to simplify that.
The other problem with agencies is that you have silos in every direction when that happens. One of the things that we push a lot with our clients is that don't just have a sales meeting, include marketing on that sales meeting, because marketing is one that's going to be pushing out the information and trying to grab those front end leads. Sales is doing the back end. But if you don't understand what is happening, if you're not getting the customer feedback from sales, you can't inform your marketing. If sales doesn't fully understand what marketing's doing, then they don't fully understand where these leads are, where they're drop off, and they're not able to fully align, like, why am I getting more spam, or why is my calendar not booked out? So it's really about aligning those things. And just to touch on what Kelly said, being from the agency world, I saw firsthand how it's literally, I mean, at the end of the day, they're going to sleep at night thinking about their bottom line, not yours. And what happens is 60 to 70% of that budget that you're paying is actually put towards account management, project management, little things within the interior, and then only 30 to 40 max, I would say probably only 30% of that is of that time that you're paying for is actually real work being done. And I saw it firsthand. It was be a few hours a month of actual SEO work on an SEO scope and then some reporting, but they're paying for what is up to 20 hours a month because the rest of it is account management, project management, the designer's taking a look at something. And ultimately their goal too is how can I bring them in, hook them in, and have them stuck with us? So as an agency, it was what resources and assets can we own so they are reliant on us so I can, more or less, they can handcuff them to you. And that way that client is now stuck with you and feels trapped. So even when a month in, your experts, quote unquote experts, have now handed off the work to your recent college graduates, which is what happens with just some templates and frameworks. Those results are going to drop off. And that's the biggest thing that happens is people are then like, wait, I'm not seeing the results I expected. I started seeing some good results in month 1, month 2, but now I'm not seeing those anymore. What's going on? But they're trapped because their assets are also owned by this agency and they don't know how to do these things and run these strategies.
And often those assets that were made for them were actually not at all. Most of the time they have a library of all the assets they made for somebody, and then they just tweak it, change the colors a little bit, and hand it to the next person. So you're having a custom built website. You're having none of it's custom for you. I see a lot of people who did WordPress sites with agencies. In the last year, we've probably had 6 or 7 emergency people get referred to us, and then pretty much in the middle of the night, some of them, because they've been hacked, their system went down, they were exposed because of some agency because WordPress is not very secure, and everything's gone, their site's down. They had no control. They couldn't even get in there. So I then have to basically buy back their domain, start with nothing, and then rebuild from scratch with no resource because they don't own it. And when something like that happens, the agency doesn't want to take responsibility. They we are a vulnerable company. Our clients can be hacked, which happens, and they literally just go rogue. They might not even come back for you for the bill because they just don't even want your liability, and that's not fair. You should have ownership and control of your own. A lot of times they even own your domain, your literally website URL of your business. I genuinely don't believe in that. So we try to take something like if an acupuncture company and a single small business or a single person, marketing should be one tiny fraction of their time, and it should be doing its job, driving you brand recognition, growing your brand voice, growing your audience, engaging, nurturing, and it should be doing the job for you where you're dictating how and what you want done. You're getting the alerts you choose to get. You can get a weekly report. You can get a list of who to call back. All of it can be automated, but that's why you pay for these tools. You don't pay for the tools to have 20 different things that you have to go check on all the time. It's really hard today to recognize that you don't need all these things. All those systems, all those tools, all those platforms, their job is to market you, to hook you, and to get you tied in. And so they're coming up to you and giving you exactly what you want to hear. We're saving your life. Everything's going to be magical. Because they know that exactly what you want to hear to get you hooked in and to stuck with them. That's their job, is to get you. So they're monitoring you and targeting you. And that's why it works and you see it. That's why you like it. But that's what you want to avoid.
It's so funny you mentioned the multiple funnels because I'm thinking about something I installed on my WordPress website last weekend. And I'm
Sorry,
like, uh-oh.
I didn't know you had a WordPress.
WordPress. What's up with WordPress? But it was a contact form. I have constant contact to collect emails. But I just don't think their opt-in anything is very attractive looking. I was like, this is ugly. I don't want this on my website. And then I downloaded a different widget and it was free, which means it's a little clunky and it's on there. And then I realized, if someone submits their information through this form, I get an email notification. What if that goes into spam? And I already can get messages from potential patients through Instagram, through texting to the office, through phone calls to the office, through 2 different emails. And I'm like, now I have to check and make sure that I didn't miss any of the submissions from this contact form.
That's the last thing you want, because guess what? Either that person's now burned and mad at you because you didn't respond to them immediately and they didn't get the acknowledgement they want. You're annoyed with them because they went to your spam, but it's not their fault. And now this person, word of mouth is the most toxic and the most powerful tool out there. I don't care what platform you have. Word of mouth is killer or like the gold mine. And people expect in today's day and age, everything is going to instantly be addressed and instantly responded to. And ideally, I would like a human being, but most likely by a robot or automation. But nobody has the patience anymore. There's no such thing as waiting a few days for customer service. So if you don't fulfill that new desire that all of humanity expects, you are now a bad guy. You are doing a bad job. You are unprofessional. You are not good at it as an acupuncturist, which nothing to do with that. And that's the problem, is that you have to basically make the tools fulfill those needs for you, so you are not having to have the burden or have the negative response.
Well, I have a question then. So what do you recommend instead of all of these funnels and messages and information from all of these channels? What do you usually advise people to do? Especially because most acupuncturists are solopreneurs, and it really is
Mm-hmm.
on us to check all of the channels that we mentioned and see, like, do I have any leads where people are
Sure.
contacting me?
So one thing that we really promote is finding an omni-channel platform. We really like HubSpot because you can have your social media, you can have your ads, you can have your email, you can have your website all integrated in one spot, but not beyond the fact that it's all in one spot. You also, for every single person that comes to your site, you can click on their profile and you see the first thing that they came to your site, like the first source of traffic. You can see every page they've looked at, every email they've received, whether they've opened it, the text messaging, the orders that they've placed. You can see all of it in their individual profile, but you can also use all this information to create workflows for triggers. You really want some kind of omni-channel platform that essentially is able to connect all the dots and maintain that one mass profile of this person so you can see their entire experience with your brand and be able to then tailor the next steps or engagements or interactions or sales conversations, whatever it might be, based on that information.
I love you saying me having to check multiple channels. That is the absolute last thing you should do. And that's where I really come in to just hone in on, you need a centralized location. All the information gets fed into that and you get notified in one manner. And that, because your time and sanity is the most valuable asset you have. And if you're spending time checking all these things, that's time you're not being paid, time you're not servicing customers, time you're not actually growing your business. You're actually paying money by doing these things because you're not making any money. And so if you have something like a HubSpot, you have all your social media is tied in. All these systems are built to be able to connect. You just need to connect them. And so in your thing, every social you have, all the posts are in there. You can schedule them or you can just monitor them. If you have any comments or DMs or anything, you can all be in there. All your emails are there. All your website stuff, all your form, contact information, whether it's on a HubSpot site or a third-party site. And what you do is you basically just think, what works for me? Yesterday, with clients, I said, we're going to send them a weekly new dashboard every single week. So I said, what day do you want it? He said, I probably want to review it for Monday. I said, so Sunday night at 8 o'clock at night now, every week, automatically, all the reporting dashboard gets sent to him in an email every week going, when he wants it, 8 o'clock at night on Sunday nights to get right to him.
I guess this is a good opportunity to say that a lot of acupuncturists don't even collect emails. So let's talk about how important that is.
Sure.
Because I do these marketing audits where I'll kind of comb through people's website and social media and make suggestions. And there's a little questionnaire, and the questionnaire is, do you collect emails? And I mean, do you collect emails on your website? They're thinking, yes, when I have a new patient, I'm collecting their email. And so that's great. That has to happen if you're going to remind them of their appointments, etc. But I sometimes have a really hard time convincing people to add a newsletter opt-in box on their website, because everything that you are talking about, all these content management systems, those leads have to come from somewhere. And for the most part, I think they would come from email marketing. I mean, that's my favorite type of marketing. I think it's very effective and kind of low lift.
High ROI. Beyond the impact that I'll talk about and the ROI that I'll talk about with email marketing, when it comes to even the sellability of a company, one of the biggest components of that is what kind of community they have. I mean, you look at some of the bigger companies that have been sold recently, and they weren't sold at huge high valuations because of just a product. They were sold because their contacts list is millions and millions of people. And now all of those people, now whoever they sell to has access to all those people too. So even from a small business perspective, it's really about building that list, because the more you can build it, the more powerful you become and the more influential you can become. Now, where it translates into profits directly is also, for the average business, 25 to 35% of their revenue comes from email marketing sales. So you are just missing out on a quarter to over a third of your business revenue by not tapping into email marketing. And I don't want you to do flashy emails. Right now, I mean, There is a whole new system of deliverability and spam filtering and all these new regulations that are out. Right now, we have a 10 out of 10 on our health score across the board for our emails. And our emails get a 60% open rate, they get a 30% or higher click-through rate, and they do awesome. And the reason is not because we're doing these design-heavy emails. What we're doing is very simple. We start off with like a little storyline of a hook, we provide high-value content, we give a very low-key call to action, and then we end it with additional content. And they're plain script, they're written by me, they come from me, and that's what performs really well. Now, if we were to just do design heavy, and we did tests on this, our open rates dropped down to like the 15% and our click-through rate dropped down to 0.5%.
Our health score dropped to a 2 out of 10, and you really need like a 5 to be healthy. That's the whole world right now is design heavy and flashy. It's a shift. And so taking like the old school approach not only gets people's attention and is appreciated by the users, but it also gets through all of the spam filters and gates that Google, Yahoo have intentionally put up in the last year to reduce volume in emails, people's inboxes. Courtney, you want to explain the exact email that you did a month apart? One was flashy and the exact email was just text heavy?
Sure. So we did a marketing email that was for a Google Ads workshop that we were hosting. We did a test. So we sent one email for that workshop after we had followed the non-best practices. And that got a 23% open rate and a 0.5% click-through rate. Then for the next 3 weeks, I focused on my high-value, simplified emails. Following those 3 weeks, I sent the exact same email to the exact same audience. No changes otherwise. And what happened is that 23% open rate went to 58%. And that 0.5% click-through rate went to 23.8% click-through rate. And all we did was just change our strategy in between.
So it sounds like more authentic.
Mm-hmm. More authentic, friendly. It feels more personalized because it comes from an individual. The ones we send, I legitimately write them. I'm not having ChatGPT write them. It's just like flow of thoughts. And a very casual CTA, but it feels personal. It feels genuine. It feels authentic. And it feels like it might be made for that person. Mm-hmm. And that's really the impact it's having. But it's reducing that sales pitchy vibe. When it comes to promotional versus high value content, you really want to make sure you have 70% high value content where you are not pushing any type of real sale and 30% promotional. Now, when it comes to the high value, you still want that one call to action, but you want it to be something that's not high friction. So you don't want to be asking them to purchase anything, but you could say, you know what, you can get a free 60-minute strategy session, which is what we do. Mm-hmm. By clicking here, like if you're
a free consult for acupuncture.
Yeah. So you can do something low key.
The thing with acupuncture specifically is if they don't like you, they're not going to come to you. You are what's the selling point for the business. They want to be laying in a bed with you poking needles in their face. They need to like you. And if you aren't there for them, if it's not your voice, your personality, your personal brand, then you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah, I'm always trying to encourage people to, first of all, to send emails. And secondly, to be themselves. And really to not be afraid to be visible in that way. I think for some people it feels very vulnerable and they're walking this fine line between trying to be seen as a respected professional, because a lot of acupuncturists feel like they've really had to fight for professional respect compared to other disciplines. They want to be themselves. They also want to be seen as a professional. They're afraid if they overshare, they are going to land in this space where it's unprofessional. So I think it maybe requires a little experimentation, but at the end of the day, I really do feel like the more you write, like the way that you speak to people and you teach, what are the things that they're teaching their patients over and over again that they're always repeating? Those make great emails. Like, what can you teach?
Mm-hmm. Really, one thing I want to mention with the email collection, though, is just do the one step. Collect the emails. Don't plan to do anything. You don't have to do anything with them. The step one is just get the email. The only reason you're going to get it is so it sits in there for you for a rainy day. Then set yourself a goal for when you're ready to start testing emails. But don't try to say day one, I'm going to start sending emails and collecting the same day if you aren't ready for that.
I want to switch gears really briefly because I know that something you both enjoy talking about is flow states. And I know we don't have too much time left, but I think my audience would really enjoy that perspective as well, and preventing burnout and how that connects with everything that they're doing in their business.
Sure. So I will dive into a few things regarding flow. So flow really is, it's this magical state where you are just fully immersed in what you're doing and performing at your best. And it is actually a neurological state of mind. Now, what happens is you have alpha, theta, and beta waves. So alpha and theta in a flow state are heightened. And what this does is it enables calm focus, creativity, and insight. So you can think outside of the box in this calm, focused state. Whereas beta waves, which are your inner critic and self-doubt, and you're being overly alert, those things calm. So this state is actually called transient hyperfrontality. Now, in order to get into this flow state, where it has been scientifically proven that in this flow state, your productivity increases up to 500%. So you can get so much more done in this state. In order to get into this state, it takes 23 minutes for the average person to enter into it. I'll talk in a second about the flow cycle, but the average person can then maintain that flow state for 90 to 120 minutes. So that means in those 2 hours, you can get 10 hours of work done that you would otherwise be trying to do outside of this flow state. But in order to achieve this flow state, you also need to eliminate distractions. So, for instance, I turn off my notifications. I only use a couple tabs, whatever I'm focusing on in that time. I have preset what I'm going to work on in that time. And I let other people know. I will let Kelly know, like, I'm going off the grid for 2 hours. Then I'll be back. And I don't let anything else interrupt me. If I have to go to the restroom, I go to it beforehand. So it's very planned, so I can optimize my time. But in order to fully optimize it too, and not reach for the phone, for the social media, or whatever it is, you need to make sure that you have it planned out. Like, what could I accomplish in this time? But also make it simple. So you don't want to give yourself 10 tasks that you're going to do in that time. What is that number one thing that'll move your business forward? And give me 1 to 3 subtasks that would help to achieve that. That's what you focus on in that deep flow state. Now, in a flow state, in a flow cycle, so you first have the struggle phase, which is where things start to feel a little overwhelming, and that's where you start to reach for distractions. Then you have this release phase where all of a sudden you feel this sense of calm. Following the release is where you actually get into that flow. And then you can maintain that for 90 to 120 minutes. And after that is the recovery phase, which is where you also get that serotonin hit. And that serotonin hit is that feel good of like, oh, I want to do that again. So essentially, flow begets flow. The more flow you have, the more flow you will find. Now, in order to achieve this, some things that we stand by, and again, been scientifically proven, is based on the type of person you are. So for me, I'm a morning person. And so what I do is for my first 90-minute block of the day, which I get up between 4:30 and 5 every day before my
she does.
First 90-minute block of the day is focused on my business. What do I need to do? What is that one thing that's going to move my business forward? And that's what I focus on for that 90-minute block. And I have lights off, notifications off. I already have my water set next to my desk for the night before. Like, there's nothing else I have to do but wake up and walk to that desk, and that's it. And another thing too that really interrupts flow are meetings. And what we stand by is we only actually accept meetings, except for this podcast, on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
We did have a conversation about breaking our own rule for this podcast.
I appreciate it.
But we only accept meetings on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And the reason is you are in a different mindset when it comes to a meeting versus when you're in a deep flow work state. They're both a form of flow, but meetings are group flow, where deep work is individual flow. So it's two different states. Now, what happens is you're not just losing the time of the meeting, but you're losing the 23 minutes that takes you to drop into flow. You're losing the cognitive load and space prior to the meeting, thinking about the meeting, and then the come down after the meeting. Or especially if you're someone that has like meetings separated, now you're like, what can I do in the next 40 minutes to feel productive? So what we do is we have our meetings only on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we stack them for where we want to end our day backwards. So that way, if we can't, like my mornings are still protected. I still get that deep flow state in the morning on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But otherwise, my Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays are for us to do whatever deep flow work we want for our clients, for our business, or whatever it is. Or we get to spend that time with our family, if that's something we want to do. But those days are protected for us. And that also not only massively increases our productivity, because again, that flow state, your productivity increases by up to 500%, but we feel so much happier. Now, I'm going to say one more thing about this, and then I'd love to hear some of the questions that you have. But one of the biggest mistakes people make is that they go into a flow state, they feel that deep focus, and then they just want to push through the entire day. Now, the problem with this is that your brain needs time to replenish the neurochemicals involved. So your dopamine, your norepinephrine, your endorphins, and your anandamide are the 4 neurochemicals that are released in flow. It needs time to recover from those. So a 15-minute break where you're intentionally bored, no screen time, breathing, go for a walk, breathe in the fresh air, but you want something that is essentially boring, is what you're trying to do. So you're increasing.
No music. One thing she told me when you're driving in your car, 5 minutes, no music. And I had to test myself. I was like, no, turn it off, Kelly. And it's eye-opening how much you're used to the noise and the distraction all the time. Yeah.
But what happens during these active recovery times is not only is your brain allowed to recover these neurochemicals so you can 15 minutes or an hour later jump back into a deep flow state, you're also able to ruminate on the problem that you just solved. So a tip I like to give people is that if you're working on something difficult, you're going to get to that tail end and you kind of know what you want to do, how you want to finish it. Let's say you're redesigning a page of your site. You kind of know exactly how you want it to look. Before you get it 80% of the way there, walk away, do some active recovery, whether it's yoga, walk, just looking at a vast view in front of you, whatever it might be, something low-key, boring, and ruminate on it. And I guarantee you, whether it's a problem or a design thing or some kind of internal structure, you will think of a better, more efficient way to do it. If you just hold on, don't give yourself that cognitive closure of finishing that tough task. Otherwise, what you really want to do is make sure that at the end of the night, to sleep better, you want to make sure you offload any of those things you were thinking about into a list. So that way you can sleep better, because otherwise your brain is still ruminating on those same thoughts. So you want to kind of use it to your advantage during the day to think of solutions, and then at night, offload everything. That was a lot.
Thank you. No, I think it's fascinating. So I always think of when acupuncturists, when we're seeing patients, every one of those patients is a meeting, right? It requires a little bit of prep. You have to be very present. Then you have more paperwork, and then you have to transition to the next person. And so people are always telling me, it's very difficult to fit marketing into my workday because I'm either in patient mode or I'm in like some other creative or data assessing mode. So it sounds like the best choice would be just take care of your patients while you're doing that, and then have a part of the week set aside where you are doing marketing or the other admin tasks.
So we have a few health education companies that do similar types of things, like PTs, OTs, that sort of thing, HRT, and so hormone replacement therapy, for those that don't know. But so what we have them doing is they will carve out a day either on the front end or back end of their schedule, and then they carve out that morning block before they get into the office that is blocked out. They're not able to be scheduled, and for those times, that's where they focus on these other things. I mean, the goal is essentially to live like a lion. So you want to be fully resting during your active recovery, and scrolling on social media, watching TV, those things are not fully resting your brain. And you want to be fully active and hunting essentially when you are working. And that's really what you're trying to get, is whether it's your personal life and being fully present for your family, your workout and being fully present for that workout and turning off that podcast that you think is getting you through your workout, but really you're getting less out of your workout, or your work. You want to be fully present, because ultimately at the end of the day, we are not supercomputers. We are intended to single task. We are intended to do one thing at a time. And you might feel like you're multitasking, but really your brain is switching gears every time. And as a result, you end up at about 30% efficiency versus 100% on everything that you're doing. So really you just want to stop, finish what you're doing, then move on to the next thing.
And also take a break for yourself. No one is allowed to stop anymore. When I read the articles of people who said, I needed a mental health day and I took it, good, take it. And that's one dynamic Courtney and I love about working together, is that there's more important things in the world than work. And if one of us has something going on, or we need something, or just it's one of those days, we recognize that, acknowledge it, and tell the other person, go do your thing. That matters more. That's true, because you're getting out of treating yourself okay, giving yourself a break, allowing yourself to drop the ball on something that is not going to alter your life. It's giving you a breath of fresh air, you're willing to breathe, and then you're going to come back with different eyes. If you try to put marketing on the top of your to-do list every day, and you keep adding on the to-do list every single day, and you don't just carve out that minute, now you're going to keep taxing on yourself. Marketing becomes the bad guy. You're going to now hate marketing before you even did anything. You're not going to move anywhere, and then any marketing you do is going to be an underlying tone of frustration, force, disappointment, a desperation to make the work, because now that you're doing it, and shouldn't be that way at all. It should be an asset to help motivate, drive, and build your business. But that's all it is. It's just a tool. It is not something that should become the burden, the big expense. It should be a line item, and it should really be doing the line items supposed to be doing the work for you, not a line item because it's a business expense that you're supposed to have.
Oh, I'm sure everyone listening is so happy to hear that it is not supposed to be their job, right? Acupuncture is their job. Thank you both so much for being here. I do have one more question for both of you that I ask all of my guests. I am so curious, what are your definitions of success?
I would say my definition of success is being able to go home at the end of the day, look around for me at my family, and just have a smile on my face and feeling good.
I genuinely get enjoyment out of helping people. Literally watching people thrive brings so much joy to me, whether it's my kids or whether it's my clients. Getting somebody to a place where they can do it on their own, they can go in their own path, and they can thrive, and they're not held back is amazing. One of my favorite days is the day we get fired, and that's because we've done everything the person needs. They are ready to go on their own to succeed, and that's what makes me so happy, is when people actually take back control.
Amazing. Well, where can everyone find you? Where can they get in touch with you if they want to work with you?
Sure. You can visit us on Market Like a CMO. And if you would like to schedule a free 60-minute strategy session, you can visit marketlikeacmo.com/strategy-session.
Ooh, I hope people really take you up on that. We will put everything in the show notes. Well, thank you so very much for being here today. I really appreciate you both.
Thank you, Michelle.
As always, thank you for being here. A quick reminder to join me and Clara Cohen of AcuPro Academy at our free PDA class on April 11th. We'll be sharing simple website and social media strategies to bring in more patients, plus live marketing reviews for a few lucky attendees. And you'll earn 1 NCC AOM PDA credit for free. Spots are limited, so be sure to sign up now. The link is in the show notes. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.